Good evening, everyone. Welcome to NTD Tonight. I'm David Zhang. Here's a preview of some of today's top stories. APEC is coming to San Francisco this week. Who will be attending and why is a big deal? More details revealed surrounding a California Jewish man who was allegedly attacked at Dueling Israel-Palestinian protests. The case is now being investigated as a homicide. A man with a big heart on top of big muscles. Arnold Schwarzenegger was recently recognized for his advocacy against anti-Semitism. Leaders from around the world, including President Joe Biden and Chinese leader Xi Jinping, will be gathering in San Francisco. Thousands of government heads, CEOs, and journalists will also attend the Asia-Pacific Economic Cooperation Conference. Here's more on what to expect. 20,000 attendees representing 21 member economies will be in the city of San Francisco, but what are the highlights other than heightened security, massive road closures, and protests?
I think it's particularly significant this year because with the tension between the United States and China, the opportunity to have President Xi meet with President Biden is a very important one.
The White House announced last week that U.S. President Biden will meet with the Chinese leader Xi Jinping, making the first time the two leaders will speak in person since a year ago.
Chairman Xi is facing a lot of pressure of a downturn economy in China. He wants American business to go to China to make more investment, and he also wants Americans to buy more products from China. So that's why he's coming.
Both sides have been showing signs of easing up the tensions.
As I've said since the beginning of my administration, we seek competition, not conflict with China. We're not looking for a new Cold War.
Treasury Secretary Janet Yellen is also scheduled to host Chinese Vice Premier He Lifeng for 2 days for talks in San Francisco before the start of APEC summit. This all comes on the heels of California Governor Newsom's recent week-long visit to China and meeting with the Chinese President Xi. The key discussions of this year's summit will center around trade, technology transfer, and economic development.
The United States is very concerned about technology transfer to China. The United States has been very aggressive in pushing restrictions on semiconductors, and that's been a very important issue for us because we're very concerned about the transfer of technology to China, potentially for defense purposes.
But others are skeptical of China's position in the economic sector.
More than 90% of Americans have negative opinions about China. So I don't think Xi is going to be very successful to attract a lot of investments to China.
While APEC is intended to be an economic forum, political topics do come up during discussions among world leaders, especially when international tensions run high with the current Russia-Ukraine war and conflicts in the Middle East. Meanwhile, San Francisco is aggressively clearing homeless encampments, increasing drug-related arrests to improve the city's image as delegations arrive. Now let's take a look at other top national headlines today. Today is election day and an off-year voting is on the way in a handful of states. 2 states stand out above the rest. Ohio voters will decide on allowing abortion and legalizing marijuana. If approved, Ohio will become one of the few states to enshrine abortion in a state constitution. While in Virginia, the battle is on for control over the state legislature. All 40 seats in Virginia's Senate and 100 seats in the House of Delegates are up for grabs. Polls close today at 7:30 p.m. local time, and votes will be tallied throughout the night. We'll have more on the results tomorrow. Today, the Supreme Court heard a gun rights case involving a Texas man, Zaki Rahimi, who was accused of hitting his girlfriend during an argument and later threatening to shoot her. Judges are now reviewing the constitutionality of a 1994 federal law that prevents individuals under domestic violence orders from owning a gun. Conservative and liberal Supreme Court justices on Tuesday appear to be leaning toward keeping the gun ban. The court will make a decision before they go on summer break in late June or July next year. The special counsel overseeing Hunter Biden's investigation testified before lawmakers earlier today. This is the first time the special counsel has ever appeared before Congress in the middle of a probe. Some Republican lawmakers allege that David Wise did not have full authority in a years-long investigation into Hunter Biden. But Wise told the committee that, quote, "I am and have been the decision maker on this case, and politics plays no role in the ongoing investigation." Lawmakers have subpoenaed several investigators and attorneys involved in the Hunter Biden case. Earlier today, White House spokesman John Kirby said the U.S. still is not drawing red lines for Israel as the Israeli military continues to bombard Gaza. Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu suggested that Israel would take responsibility for Gaza's security after the war. But the State U.S. Department commented shortly after that it does not support, quote, "a reoccupation of Gaza." Israel reaffirmed their commitment to rescuing hostages held by Hamas in Gaza, turning down calls for a ceasefire. Also on Tuesday, Gazan residents were seen walking towards the south after Israel gave civilians in Gaza City a 4-hour window to leave. A California Jewish man has died in what may be a homicide. What happened at the Dueling Israel and Palestinian protests? NTD's Christina Corona has more on the story.
Paul Kessler died after being hit in the head at pro-Israeli and pro-Palestinian rallies Sunday. The protests were held simultaneously at the intersection of Westlake Boulevard and Thousand Oaks Boulevard.
69-year-old Paul Kessler, a Thousand Oaks resident, who was lying on the ground. Mr. Kessler was conscious and responsive. The sergeant observed what he saw was bleeding from the head and mouth. During the investigation at the scene, deputies determined that the altercation with Mr. Kessler, he fell backward and struck his head on the ground. What exactly transpired prior to Mr. Kessler falling backward isn't crystal clear right now.
The suspect was identified, willingly remained at the scene, and was interviewed by deputies.
The suspect further stated that he was one of the reporting parties who called 911 requesting medical attention for Mr. Kessler.
Multiple witnesses at the scene were interviewed. However, there were conflicting statements about the altercation and who the aggressor was. Some witnesses were pro-Palestine, while others were pro-Israel.
It is our understanding that Mr. Kessler, a U.S. citizen who practices the Jewish faith, was at the event supporting Israel. The suspect in this case is a 50-year-old who resides in Moore Park and was at the intersection advocating for Palestine.
Sheriff Freihoff said Kessler remained conscious while being transported to Los Robles Regional Medical Center on November 5th.
Diagnostic studies at the hospital included a CT scan, which demonstrated intracranial injuries, which included swelling of the brain and hemorrhage surrounding the brain. Mr. Kessler's condition continued to deteriorate, and death was pronounced on November 6th at 1:10 a.m.
Dr. Young says an autopsy found non-lethal injuries to the left side Kessler's face. Internal injuries include skull fractures and brain swelling, which typically result from a fall.
The cause of death has been certified as blunt force head trauma. The manner of death is homicide.
Detectives obtained a search warrant for the suspect and his residence Monday. He was released at 6:15 p.m. after the search finished. As of Tuesday afternoon, there had been no arrests in the case.
To this end, we have increased patrols around mosques and our Muslim community centers and Jewish houses of worship. We also working closely with our religious leaders in our community to provide support and assistance as needed.
Authorities are asking anyone who witnessed or has knowledge of the incident to contact Detective Stump at 805-384-4745. Anonymous tips can be sent to Crime Stoppers at 800-222-8477. Christina Corona, NTD News, Los Angeles.
Arnold Schwarzenegger receives another award in Los Angeles. This time he is not recognized for his muscles, but his heart.
Hollywood action star and politician Arnold Schwarzenegger was honored on Monday by the Holocaust Museum at a ceremony in Beverly Hills. According to a museum press release, Schwarzenegger received the Los Angeles Museum's inaugural Award of Courage for advocating against anti-Semitism and bigotry.
For me to be here today is really unbelievable because, as you can imagine, when you have been Mr. Universe 5 times, Mr. World, Mr. International, 7 times Mr. Olympia. You get a lot of trophies for your muscles. But this is a trophy for my heart.
Schwarzenegger received the award from his friend and movie producer, Mike Medavoy. The actor credits Medavoy for giving him his big break in Hollywood when nobody else would.
When everyone in Hollywood said, "You would never be in the movies. You would never be a leading man. You have an accent. Everyone is scared when they hear your voice. Your body is too big. You weigh 250 pounds. This is the 70s now. And the stars are Dustin Hoffman, Woody Allen, Al Pacino. Those guys weigh no more than 150 pounds, and you weigh 250. So that doesn't work. And your name, Schwarzen, Schnitzel, or whatever it is, that doesn't work either."
Austrian-born Schwarzenegger is the son of a Nazi party member who served in the German army in World War II. He believes it's important to let people know that the next generation can change.
What is important right now is, because there's all this chatter out there and all this stuff on internet, all this negativity and hatred, that we have to speak out and confront that. The more we speak out about that issue, the better it is. So every day we have to talk about that, we have to talk about it, and we have to talk about it over and over again. Because we cannot let them get away with those lies and with this hatred. We got to talk to them and talk them down and let them know that the only way to go is to go through life with love and not with hatred.
Authorities and civil society groups in many countries have reported a surge in anti-Semitism since the October 7th attack by Hamas on Israel and the subsequent bombardment of the Gaza Strip by the Israeli military.
We'll take a short break now, everybody, but here's a look at what we have for you when we come back. Whether it's Jaws or Baby Shark, these giant fish are known for their bite. In Southern California, a recent shark attack closed down a beach. A class on singer Taylor Swift? That's exactly what UC Berkeley's business department plans to offer in 2024. Classic cars lay peacefully under towering trees. We'll take a look at the Scrapyard turned outdoor museum. Those stories and more coming up on NTD Tonight. Welcome back to NTD Tonight. I'm your host, David Zhang. A Southern California beach shut down after alarming shark activity, and an injured whale concerned the general public. NTD's Stephanie Sikal has all the details.
Authorities closed a portion of Huntington Beach due to possible shark activity reported by beachgoers. Lifeguards found a stranded juvenile whale with bite marks, and there were reports of aggressive shark behavior prior to the whale washing ashore. The area's coastline and ocean were closed for a mile in each direction as per city rules, with a 48-hour closure for that part of Sunset Beach. A study from the California Department of Fish and Wildlife in December 2022 revealed 201 confirmed shark incidents in state waters from 1950 to 2021, with 15 fatalities and 107 non-fatal injuries. On average, there are fewer than 3 shark incidents annually in California. Nearby authorities in the Pacific Marine Mammal Center were notified about the incident. Stephanie Sikal, NTD News, California.
Perseverance prevails in Oakland, California. A youth football team wins a local championship game and moves on to regional matchups. The East Bay Panthers say they focus on education, positivity, and not just sports. NTD's David Lamb speaks with one of the coaches.
James Williams, thank you so much for joining me today. Now, you're also known as Coach J by the East Bay Panthers, and you coach the 12 and under youth football team. So congratulations on the championship win in Sacramento this past weekend. How did the game go?
Thank you. First off, thank you for having me. We had a championship game in Sacramento where we faced the Berkeley Jackets. It was an intense game. Super proud of them. They came into a dogfight. They knew it was going to be a big game, and they really showed out. And I'm super proud of these boys.
What are some of the strengths of your team?
The Berkeley Jackets went down and scored on us. My quarterback came to me and he said, "Coach Jay, don't worry, I got you." And then he came out and he ran a kick return back right after that. So got us back up by 3 touchdowns. So just their resilience. I feel that any obstacle that's in their way, they always tackle and achieve their main goal, which is to win and to keep going forward.
Now, speaking of resilience, this football team did go through some challenges. A previous park that they practiced at, there was violence. There was even shooting, people using drugs right outside the park where the students were training. How has this experience taken them all the way to the championship?
Well, basically, here, our main goal is to take a negative and turn it into a positive. And that's literally what we've done with our field. And that was a major obstacle. We preach kid safety first. That's always number one. But also, as a team, I believe that situation brought us closer. And now we're more so a family and not just a team.
So the East Bay Panthers is planning to go to San Diego across the state this weekend for another game. Now, what will it take for them to go there?
Well, right now we're doing a fundraiser. We're trying to raise another $3,000 to get the boys there. The importance of us going to San Diego is the fact that the boys can get out of here and see what football is like in other places and see how far football can really take them. This is the Northern California AFL football championship, part of a championship ring. Sorry about the glare, but these are the rings that all the boys received after the game, and we also received medals here.
And why did you want to become a coach?
Growing up, I played football and basketball here locally. I went to Valley Christian in Dublin, and I had great coaches in my mind. I had great men in my life and in my corner, teaching me my rights from my wrongs. And I've always lived my life by, if I pay my dues, then I'll definitely get what's coming to me. I want to be another great man to someone else, just like I had those great men in my life.
Coach Jay, James Williams with the East Bay Panthers, thank you so much for your time.
Yes, sir. No problem. Thank you, and thank you for having us.
Swiftie fans and nerds can now look forward to a class about how Taylor Swift dominated the music industry. UC Berkeley will offer the course in its business department.
UC Berkeley's Haas School of Business will offer Taylor Swift classes in spring 2024. The purpose is to learn how the celebrity became a successful songwriter, businesswoman, and her impact on the economy. According to the course's website, through lyricism, branding, and craft, we'll explore how art and authenticity create enduring value and a viable enterprise. We'll analyze performance and interview clips, discuss media portrayal and perceptions, and develop working definitions to Swift's role in society and yours. We'll put her under scrutiny, but handle it beautifully. The syllabus is broken down into 4 parts: her emergence, how she captivates her audience, her different identities and personalities, and how she looked beyond herself. The founders are 2 UC Berkeley students, Sophia, a sophomore majoring in data science, and Crystal, who graduated with high honors in spring 2023. Back in July, tickets sold out at one of Taylor Swift's biggest concerts of the year, the Eras Tour, at Levi's Stadium in California. On October 13th, fans were able to watch her concert film at the TCL Chinese Theater in Hollywood.
To wrap up the night, let's meet a Georgia man who turned a scrapyard into a classic car museum. His collection includes the last car Elvis Presley ever bought.
Hailing from Georgia, Old Car City is the world's largest classic car junkyard-themed museum. Curated by Dean Lewis, the 32-acre masterpiece includes 7 miles of trail weaving through wrecks no younger than 50 years. Unlike spotless museum venues, there's no cleanup at Old Car City. autumn leaves are allowed to rot where they fall. Grass and moss lay undisturbed by man. The collection of cars was first started in 1931 when his father, Walter Lewis, bought wrecked cars during the Great Depression, selling the car parts for extra money. By 1972, around 3,300 classic cars were on the lot. Mr. Lewis said, "Probably about 15 to 20 years ago, my land was full of cars, and I had cars almost running into the road." The crown jewel of Old Car City is the last car Elvis Presley ever purchased. Mr. Lewis had found an Elvis collector in Columbus, selling cars and records. This included a 1977 Lincoln Mark V, which now sits sheltered in Mr. Lewis's collection. Over the years, the junkyard became a museum, and artists from all over America visit the attraction. Tourists locally and from as far away as Brazil, Portugal, and Germany frequently visit the location to enjoy its tranquil harmony.
And that's all we've got for you tonight. We would like you to join us again on NTD Tonight every weekday at 9 p.m. I'm David Zhang. Have a wonderful evening.